You can't just dismiss these things as hallucinations when they keep happening to your neighbors, your family, your community, etc. You need frameworks to understand these things, and you need stories that can contain these experiences. That's how people have been doing things for a really long time. Take a seat. I'm gonna tell you. And that's what makes Appalachia,
Sir, I'm already in a seat.
a folklore factory.
What's up, everybody? Celtic Character here, back with another reaction. Get those 10s and 20 views. I want to do something horror related.
On June 14th,
Oompa, call it. I want to do something horror related, but it's like, they want to do another Mr. Nightmare. I should do another Mr. Nightmare. I haven't done him in a while. But I typed in horror into YouTube, and a person that I saw on the Unsubscribed podcast, who apparently has pocket ginger, made a video, and he seems like a great guy, so let's give him a shot on this channel. This will be, I think, the first video I'll ever watch of the man, and his name is Ommpaville, and the Unsolved Mysteries of the Appalachians. Appalachians, not far from my personal haunted forest, but you can get to a lot of haunted forests in the Appalachians, and you got mountains and rednecks. So let's see what this is. These are Unsolved Mysteries from the Appalachians. Take away Mr. Ommpaville.
1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin was playing hide-and-seek with his family in the Great Smoky Mountains. And by the end of that day, he had vanished without a trace. And
well, the Appalachian Mountains are, it's a mountain range, so it's like a long stretch from like pretty much PA down to like Georgia. If I got
it sparked one of the largest search operations in National Park Service history, still to this very day. But Dennis Martin's disappearance was just the beginning of a much stranger story. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you what happened.
This is a cool intro. That right there is a very Unsolved Mysteries style, like that show, Unsolved Mysteries. I have not checked out many Ommpaville stuff. I know he makes his own candy. But does he have like a series of like Unsolved Mysteries? Because if so, I might check out more. That, as long as he's not like copyright claim heavy.
There's so much legend and mystery and myth and folklore in the Appalachian area, and it's finally time I do a bit of a deep dive video, rabbit hole on it, kind of, if you will. I'm not exactly sure. This video is gonna be long, and it's gonna be full of a lot of really wild stuff. So go ahead and hit the like button if you wanna see more, I guess, right? This is the Holy Relic cam. Let's put some Holy Relic graphics on screen.
Not what I thought I'd be pausing on there, but if you want to see me do more Ommpaville, hit the like button as well, so I know that you want me to do more Ommpaville stuff. Or comment a specific video you want me to react to. I ain't picky, I take ideas as long as it's not music related. Unless it's the Merkins. I've done the Merkins before.
Thank you for subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button, my friends. Today we're talking about Appalachia. I love Appalachia. Dennis Martin was 5 days away from his 7th birthday when his family took him on his first overnight camping trip in the Smoky Mountains. By the way, this is the geographical location of the Smoky Mountains. It was Father's Day weekend, and
good job, editor, for messing with our eyes with that one.
3 generations of the Martin family had hiked up to Spence Field, a 200-acre meadow sitting nearly 5,000 feet above sea level on the Tennessee-North Carolina border.
I'm about 5 feet above sea level at times in where I'm at.
By the way, driving anywhere between Tennessee and North Carolina is terrible. It's not fun. One time I had a migraine and I had to pull off the road because I was gonna throw up. So bad. So many turns and hairpins going 55. I just ain't cut out for it, I guess. That's why I moved to Texas. I like it flat and straight. Dennis was with his father, William.
Oh, there's a joke there, because I know he's dating or married, so call me Chris, but I ain't gonna go there.
His 9-year-old brother, Douglas, and his grandfather, Clyde. And they'd hiked 10 miles the day before from Cades Cove, camping overnight at Russell Field before making the final push to Spence Field that morning. And when they arrived at the meadow, they found another family already there. Dr. Carter Martin's family from Alabama. No relation to the Tennessee Martins, just a coinky-dink. At 4:30 in the afternoon, the kids came up with a game, an idea for a game. These are not experts in the development of games, and their design, quite frankly, was poor, but they were going to sneak around and surprise the adults. The plan was
Normal little kid stuff.
simple. Douglas and the other children would approach from one direction while Dennis would circle around from the other side and jump out and scare them, kind of like this. Not really anything like that. That was dumb. I should have done that. But unfortunately, there was a problem. Dennis was wearing a bright red shirt that would totally give him away. So the older kids told him he'd have to go alone and circle around the far side of the field where the thick rhododendron bushes would hide his insanely red shirt. William Martin watched his son walk toward the tree line, and the red shirt made Dennis easy to track as he picked his way through the mountain laurel and rhododendron. If you don't know what that
Basically, as a good parent, you'd like, oh, my kid's gonna try to scare me. Okay, I gotta play along, but let's keep an eye on them.
looks like it's just, thick kind of brush. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, especially mountain laurel. After about 5 minutes, Douglas and the other kids executed their part perfectly, jumping out and surprising the adults with shouts and laughter. Everybody played along, acting startled and scolding the children with smiles on their faces. Obviously, it's a classic children's game. It's poorly designed, but still, it's what kids do, I think. But Dennis never showed back up, and his father, William, looked toward where he had last seen his son's red shirt disappearing into the bushes. He called his name. There was no answer. He called again, louder. He then started to worry and kept on calling, but still nothing. The thing was, Dennis was an obedient kid who always came when called. He wasn't the type to wander off and hide when he heard, especially concern in the voice of his father. William started to...
So, it sounds like we had a good parent, but unfortunate situations, woods. Nature is scary.
Searched toward the trees, and Grandfather Clyde searched in the opposite direction. Both Martin families spread out across the meadow, calling Dennis's name, trying to find him. And by 6 p.m. that same day, as daylight started to fade and the temperature started dropping, they all knew something was terribly wrong. But this is where and why the story gets really strange. A lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of this missing persons case in Appalachia. It's one of the most famous missing persons cases.
No, unfortunately I have not, because I don't really go down the Tennessee, North Carolina area, so.
Of all time. It's just a kid who was there 1 minute and then he disappears the next. 7 miles southwest of Spencefield, near a place called Sea Branch, a man named Harold Key was having a picnic with his family, and at some point between 6 o'clock and 6:45, a couple hours after Dennis had disappeared, Harold heard something that haunted him and has haunted him for the rest of his life. It was a scream that Harold later described as enormous and sickening and fundamentally wrong. It wasn't the cry of an animal or anything he'd ever heard in his decades of mountain living. It wasn't a human in distress. It was
Oh, so this is actually someone from the Appalachians hearing something that he's not used to hearing there.
something else entirely. The scream caused Harold and his family to look up from their meal and scan the tree line, and within minutes of that otherworldly scream, they saw something. A man emerged from the woods moving fast through the undergrowth and brush, but it wasn't a hiker or anything usual. This man moved like he was being pursued or like he was pursuing something. His appearance was disturbing to them. He was unkempt, he had hair past his shoulders, torn.
I take slightly personal offense to that. My hair, granted you can't see it now, but it's past my shoulders and I have a nice beard.
And dirty clothes, and it looked like he'd been living
Okay, I don't have dirty clothes. I actually keep myself somewhat clean.
rough in the mountains for months. He was kind of like the wild man in Red Dead Redemption 2. Could never
Okay, I'm not that bad. No. I shower daily. Always have clean clothes on. Try to look presentable.
get that son of a bitch. I don't actually think you can get him, to be honest. So you say you got him, you are a liar. I don't even think you can get him, all right? So don't try to act like you're better than us. Over the man's shoulder, Harold and his family said they saw it looked like he carried something that was similar to cloth or clothing. And the moment the strange man spotted the Key family watching him, he immediately changed course and plunged deeper into the forest, then disappeared completely. And Harold Key carefully noted the time between 6 and 6:45 p.m. on June 14th. This was 1969. So if we think about the timeline, that's Dennis Barton disappearing at 4:30 p.m. from Spencefield, and 2 hours later, 7 miles away, Harold Key hears a beast scream and saw a wild man carrying what appeared to be some kind of clothing. Could a 6-year-old child cover 7 miles of wilderness on his own? I don't think so.
in 2 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Ommpaville on this one. No, because you figure anybody who's ever hiked in any type of wood situation, especially a mountainy wood situation, no, it's not a flat. If it's like a flat course, I can make the argument of yes. But because it's a woods, you're going to get turned around. You're going to get tripped up. You're going to do that. That's why I always claim that with my V2 model lore that, like, I haven't done deep dive on that, like the plan there, but like I'm in a forest because you can get lost and anything can happen. Exactly. The kid's not going to be able to wander 7 miles easily.
Seems impossible, but could something have carried him that far? Also unsure. And as darkness fell, Clyde Martin, the grandfather, hiked 9 miles down the mountain to report Dennis missing. And behind him was a massive storm that was building. By the way, this is pre-cell phone, pre-internet. You had to actually
Okay, it's 1969, he said. So, yeah. Wonder why I didn't hear
go out and report people missing to the proper channels and authorities. This is a totally different time. It was much more difficult to find the missing in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and before that, before the internet and surveillance and all this stuff.
Yeah, I used to joke with the one receiver, the one store I would go to. Because he was like 80-something, and he's like looking out in the woods, and it's like, yeah, like realistically 1995-ish, even like early 2000s, it was so much harder to find missing people because it's just like nowadays there's cameras everywhere. Hell, your pocket, you have a camera. You hit that button 3 times like Kentucky Ballistic did when his 50 cal exploded. You can get to the police real easily.
Time Clyde reached the ranger station.
Hell, you can text 911 in some locations.
It was raining heavily, 2.5 inches in 3 hours, and that would wash away any trail that Dennis might have left. Following the incident was an unprecedented search. Over 1,400 volunteers scoured 56 square miles of the Smoky Mountains looking for Dennis.
What is it? Hold on, go back a frame there.
Volunteers scoured 56 square miles of the Smoky.
This is what I was talking about. Imagine trying to walk as a hell, let's go as a teenager. Someone like, I'll use myself. I was in decent shape in high school. Like, that would be tough to go 7 miles in this terrain. Right, also it's high altitude, so.
Smoky Mountains looking for Dennis. This lasted 16 days. There were FBI agents that opened case files. Green Berets, fresh from Vietnam, joined the hunt, and the operation became so.
Yeah, if those guys can't find them, no one going to. Because that's pretty much what they lived in, was forest, raining forest.
So large, it started destroying evidence from just all of the people walking around. There were so many people trying to find Dennis. And 3 days after Dennis disappeared, searchers found something that changed everything. They found child-sized footprints in the mud near Eagle Creek, several miles from Spence Field. The tracks told a bit more of a disturbing story as well. One foot was barefoot, and the other showed the pattern of a boy's Oxford shoe in size 2.5, which was exactly what Dennis had been wearing. The prints led towards water and then simply stopped, and park officials immediately dismissed the evidence. For some reason, they said the footprints must belong to a Boy Scout in the search.
Why would one be barefoot? It's obviously Dennis.
Search party because they were too far from Dennis' last known location, and they were made by someone older than 6, which I don't understand.
Never underestimate people. That's the thing. Like, even a kid, if you're desperate and you have any survival instincts, the first thing you'll know, besides you should stay put, is if you find water, running water, follow it downstream, you're most likely going to find civilization.
Understand how I mean, looking back, obviously hindsight's 2020, but it seems absurd to just be like, definitely not Dennis at all. Retired park ranger Dwight McCarter studied those footprints for decades. He said that the tracks weren't part of a group pattern. They led away from the search area and not towards it, and they showed purpose and direction, not the random wandering of a lost child. And also, none of the children who were searching had been barefoot either, so a huge plot hole in the weird excuse for that. The official search continued for 2 more weeks before ending in utter failure. Dennis Martin was never found. There was no trace of his clothing ever discovered, and no remains were ever recovered. He simply ceased to exist at 4:30 p.m. on June 14th, 1969, which is completely mind-boggling that has happened. It's so well covered, and it has happened multiple times outside of just this lone story. The most curious part about all of this, it's a terrible part as well, but it is certainly curious, is that Dennis Martin's disappearance isn't necessarily unique. The Appalachian Mountains generate more unexplained phenomena per square mile than anywhere else in North America. You can ask anybody who's lived.
I don't even live there. I know you don't mess with that mountain range. It's like you're going somewhere, you inform people, I'm going to this point, I'm taking this trail. If I'm not back by X time, something went wrong. Start looking for me, because those woods, you gotta figure, they were the, like, original, like, for the most part, kind of like a borderline for the colony. So you figure hill people, rednecks, mountaineers, weirdos have been living in those woods and mountain range all up and down the East Coast for centuries.
There. And if you read any forums or any forums, what am I, old? If you look on the internet and you search Appalachia, scary, Appalachia, skinwalker, you're gonna find a lot of insane stories. I myself have stories. But around national parks across the US, and seemingly more so in remote locations in Appalachia, children, people, they vanish in areas where they just shouldn't be able to disappear. Search dogs lose scent trails at strange points, and experienced hikers are found in impossible locations, dead. There's something different about Appalachia. That's what we're talking about today. Something different about Appalachia. Something in the water maybe. So
I'll say, high altitude, very old location in America, very old, more or less preserved woods. So yeah, let's get to the weirdness. That's just a terrible story.
Definitely heard that Appalachia is spooky and scary, and don't go into the woods at night in Appalachia. You'll hear whatever, that's a lot of that. I've gone to the woods a lot at night, and I'm still alive. But what makes the Appalachian Mountains so different? Why do more people disappear in Appalachian parks than in parks 10 times the size? The answer potentially lies in something called thin places, which are areas that the normal rules of reality seem to break down. And these thin places, the theory of this has existed for thousands of years. Researcher David Politis has spent years documenting what he calls missing 411 cases, which are disappearances that follow disturbing patterns. And in the Appalachian Mountains, these patterns are everywhere. Like I said, children, people vanish from areas where they shouldn't be able to disappear. Search dogs lose scent trails at specific geographic points, the same points over and over. This is information from David Politis. And experienced hikers are found in locations that should be impossible to reach given their physical condition. All of these things, some I've gone over already, are things that are consistent in these cases, and these cases are consistent in the Appalachian region. What's strange as well is that these occurrences aren't exactly random. They follow a level of pattern geographically. So,
Ooh. You got land with bad juju, with history of bad juju? Ooh. Stay away, stay away.
Bit of exposition in
It's like Philadelphia, you just don't want to go there.
regard to Appalachia. It's very interesting. You're going to want to hear this. The Appalachian Mountains, if you didn't know, are 480 million years old. They've been through 4 separate mountain building events that geologists call orogenies: the Grenville, Taconic, Acadian, and Alleghanian. All insanely cool names.
Oh, very hard to pronounce. That's why I'm happy he did it.
And all of this geological violence created an electromagnetic configuration that exists nowhere else on Earth. Dr. Michael Persinger at Laurentian University proved that electromagnetic fields can alter human consciousness in scientifically measurable ways. Using his God helmet device, a device that generates weak magnetic fields barely stronger than a hairdryer, he can induce supernatural experiences in 80% of his test subjects.
Okay, how controlled is that test? That also looked like just a very old motorcycle helmet.
People reported sensing mysterious presences, missing time, out-of-body experiences, and encounters with spiritual entities, and the same electromagnetic patterns that Persinger created for his studies and science shit also naturally occur in the Appalachian Mountains. There's something called the Brunswick magnetic anomaly that stretches from South Carolina to Pennsylvania, and in these areas.
Yeah, you hear that stretch? South Carolina to Pennsylvania. Just look that up on the map if you're not stateside.
Areas that fit into that anomaly, compasses spin wildly, and electronic equipment fails without explanation. This is real. Dr. Karen Fisher at Brown University found that the lithosphere, the Earth's protective electromagnetic barrier, is also abnormally thin beneath the mountains as well. The region is also loaded with quartz deposits, and when tectonic pressure hits quartz, it generates piezoelectric fields. And if you don't know what that is, here's what.
I'm gonna pause because that just sounded like a fancy word that I'd never heard of. No pressure, pressure. Okay, that's odd.
Piezoelectric field is. Piezoelectricity is so cool. And this creates localized zones where the normal rules of space and time, quite literally, break down. Thanks, Obama. Ooh, yes! So
Gotta love the weirdness of Oompa.
research shows that when tectonic plates shift, they can generate electromagnetic anomalies that trigger activity in the temporal lobe of the human brain. And that is the same brain region associated with mystical experiences, missing time, and altered perception. In laboratory conditions, temporal lobe stimulation produces hallucinations, spiritual encounters, and memory gaps that mirrors what happens in what missing 411 survivors report. By the way, I believe all this stuff. Sure, there's scientific backing for some of it, but specifically in Appalachia, I've had a very bizarre experience where I've never been more afraid in my entire life, and I'm a pretty scared guy. I like getting scared of stuff, but I fight, I don't flight. I fight, I don't flight. One time I really flighted though, bad.
Oh, you flighted.
I'll tell you my stupid story at the end.
The Flight of the Ommpaville. Why did that work like a movie/video game title?
The video, but it's so bizarre. Anyways, the Appalachians are basically a massive natural version of Persinger's experimental God helmet chamber. By the way, this is purely speculation from me. I don't know if anybody's ever made this connection before. I shouldn't say that, but this is speculation. Of course someone's thought of this before. How f***ing dumb can one man be? This guy! Yeah! Press like!
So weird, his dog started freaking out.
Woo! Hey now, take a seat. Take a seat now, come on, take a seat. Can I hold a 20? I'm hungry. Need to get me a sandwich. So yeah, it's pretty scary. Imagine being an old colonist or something too, and you come over and you're from Scotland, and damp is like a really common color, and you come to the Appalachian Mountains.
Like, there's weird things that people from different regions could say, like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. You live near the beach, you can smell and taste the rain, which people don't understand is something you can do. Scottish people, they can sense dampness.
And it's so beautiful. And then you encounter a f***ing transcendental, spiritual, religious experience because you're just hanging out in the Appalachian Mountains and your worldview can't accommodate it. So then you start making legends and myths, and you start saying, oh my God, there's a beast out there in the woods out there. Because every time I go out there, my hair stands on the back of my neck and it feels like I'm getting looked at. I mean, I'm from Scotland or whatever. The guy, I said he was Scottish. The Appalachian
Well, I figured if he was Scottish, they do have Nessie, so they would know.
Mountains generate more of these experiences than anywhere else in the world because their geological structure creates conditions where the impossible becomes possible and the inevitable becomes inevitable. By the way, I just said with total confidence. I'm making that up. That's literally what I think. I don't know though. I'm not very good at saying things matter-of-factly, you know? Except for that does not look good. Never mind, I've been working out a lot. Power Boys channel. Go to Power Boys. I got a new channel with a couple of my bros.
Shameless plug. I'm here for it.
The mountains, they don't just inspire folklore, they demand folklore. The thin places create both the disappearances and the legends that attempt to explain the disappearances. And that's the thin place. There's a lot more information on the thin place. I didn't make that up.
Well, yeah, you figure anytime we can't fully understand nothing, there's always been myth and legends. The Black Forest in Germany has what? The Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, you got vampires. There's so many legends out there, like why people are just vanishing.
There's stories that Stonehenge is a thin place and all these interesting mystical areas and the Egyptian pyramids. There's all these thin places. It's just a way to explain an area, a geographical area that relates to something that is occurring that you cannot explain with your worldview. That's a thin place. Appalachia, big, very, very thin place. I was gonna say big, thin place, but that cancels itself out. You see that title?
No, you can be big and thin. Like, you see, I've seen very big, thin pieces of plexiglass, so.
Pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good name, isn't it? I like that name. I thought that was really cool. The folklore conundrum, I was gonna use the word conundrum because I've been trying to use that one lately, but folklore factory makes a lot more sense. When strange things happen regularly, people need explanations because we're people, you know? And in Appalachia, strange things happen quite a bit. Remember that Scottish guy I talked about? Think about it. You're living in a remote mountain hollow where children occasionally disappear and reappear miles away with no memory of how they got there. They just disappear and never come back. Families vanish from campsites without disturbing anything around them. Hunters encounter beings that shouldn't exist according to modern science, and so on and so on.
Isn't the legend of Protoa? I don't know. Roanoke Colony, North Carolina. Let's see, I'm looking something up real quick. Nah, it's kind of far away from the Appalachian Mountains. Never mind. But yeah, you have the whole Roanoke Island where like the settlers just vanish for unknown reasons. We'll just start with one word into a tree before they left.
So on and so on. You can't just dismiss these things as hallucinations when they keep happening to your neighbors, your family, your community, etc. You need frameworks to understand these things, and you need stories that can contain these experiences. That's how people have been doing things for a really long time. Take a seat. I'm gonna tell you. And that's what makes Appalachia,
Sir, I'm already in a seat,
a folklore factory. Boom. First comes the geographic isolation. Mountain families and remote hollows had nowhere to turn except to their own communities for interpretation of insane and impossible events. When something unexplainable happens, they can't call the authorities or consult experts. They had to figure it out themselves. And they weren't always the brightest, let's be real. Becoming self-reliant.
Well, that, and if you figure back then, you also had like a lot of people were super religious, which even in like old religions there are still mythology. Like hell, you got a lot of paganism that made it to North America. Halloween, for example. So you figure some of those traditions did come with them, so makes sense. And two, if you live up in the mountains without a cell phone and without a car, and you had to walk or ride a horse somewhere, by the time you got there, you forgot key factors, so it sounds even more insane.
In matters of explanation is the Appalachian way. You know, these folks develop their own framework for events like these. For example, a child disappeared in a thin place. The community has to tell a story that can contain such an experience and teach others potentially how to survive. That's where myths and legends and a lot of the folklore and stuff comes from, is to just imbue some kind of survival instinct, and it's based off something that happened a long time ago to people that you don't know and you've never met. And it probably what happened to them has grossly changed through the...
Well, you can look at that, Ring Around the Rosie is, I want to say measles related or smallpox. Do you know the Muffin Man was about a guy who lived on Drury Lane that was kidnapping children. So it was like a song to warn kids to watch out for this Muffin Man on Drury Lane. So like look up the histories of like some of those kids songs, like London Bridge is Falling Down, Ring Around the Rosie. Yeah, those things are darker than you think.
Story, you know, Bigfoot, for example. Big guy, not Bigfoot, big guy, just a huge guy. Big fist, hit you on the head, kill you dead. Big hairy guy, I know a couple big hairy guys. If I got killed and like my friend saw it and told that story 15,000 years in the future.
I'm 6'4". I have long hair and a full beard and a slightly fuzzy chest. You figure if I was around, hell, let's just go with the 1700s, I'd be considered I probably would be considered a mythical creature of a giant hairy man living in the woods.
That's Bigfoot out there, beating the shit out of people with his big old hairy fist. Interdimensional time traveler. I could see that happening, and I'm Appalachian, I know. Secondly, oral tradition amplifies these things. If I were to have written my story down, or my friend who witnessed me...
Oh, this is the telephone game effect. Yes, we all played that as a kid. You can say, the Panthers are teal. And by the time it gets to the last one, it's the Panthers aren't real.
Getting hit over the head with a large fist by a big guy, we would know exactly what happened. But oral tradition amplifies everything, and to be honest, in a culture where few people could read throughout a couple centuries, oral stories carry the full weight of the transmission of culture. Information becomes polished through countless retellings until it achieves a mythic permanence and a level of legend. Each storyteller adds their own details and their own connections to other experiences. Think of how terrible my videos are, and imagine if someone tried to take this video and just do it again in a different way. Thirdly is a very diverse...
Why does that sound like an oddly specific thing? Is someone trying to rip off Ommpaville? So we must find the faux Oompas and take them down.
Cultural convergence in Appalachia that provides a unique vocabulary for all these things and unique explanations for all of these things. The Appalachian Mountains were settled by people from different backgrounds, each bringing their own explanatory systems. There is more than a dozen different Native American tribes that settled the area.
Well, yeah, figure you got the Dutch in Pennsylvania, the English and Scottish throughout different places, the French and Spanish down south. And that's not saying like modern day. I'm saying you look at the maps. It's like Spain had Florida. The French were kind of settling down that region too. So yeah.
Cherokee, very well known. Shawnee, very well known. And the Native American culture and stories had explanations
natives.
For geographic horrible hotspots. Celtic people that moved there, they had second sight, which interpreted enhanced perception of different things. They witnessed unique things in their settling of the Appalachian Mountains. Germanic people settled
the Celts.
Witnessed unique things, enhanced Celtic people that moved.
Celtic! He actually said it right. He said it right. A lot of people say Celtics. This is the basketball team.
There, they had...
Also, if you want a weird thing about like the Celts and the Germanians and all those, Celts were honestly what most elves are based off of, and dwarves are the Germanians. Second
sight, which interpreted enhanced perception of different things. They witnessed unique things in their settling of the Appalachian Mountains. Germanic people settled the Appalachian Mountains as well. They had this thing called powwowing, which I think they stole the word from somebody else, but it provided these bizarre healing pagan techniques for supernatural encounters. We also
makes sense for that region.
Have a kiss of African hoodoo to tie into the culture of Appalachia as well. By the late 19th century, basically every hollow had its own bestiary of creatures.
So you figure right there you had the Celts, which were pagans, in a similar vein of like, if you people don't know, like Nordic style. They're similar, like the tree hippie people wish they were Celts. Let's just put it they're Celts were the old school Druid people, like walking through the woods and loving nature. Then you got the Germanians, who were more or less mountain woods folks, like I said, dwarves. And then you add a hint of hoodoo. Oof.
There's its own stories, catalog of dangerous locations, dangerous locations, and roster of families with special gifts and magic talents. It's a big thing in Appalachia. Magic people. Then finally you take all these variables and then you isolate them and preserve the stories outside interference of urban America or schools or science or all that bullshit. You got a whole hell of a lot of people who refuse to dismiss folklore as primitive superstition, which I love. To be honest, to be frank with you, they're not stories, it's a survival guide. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at most old school stories, they're just ways to survive, not as much horror stories.
I don't know. I've only been really afraid once up there in the mountains up there. And now, thanks to the internet, we have what we have, which is an ass load of myth, legend, stories that are all so incredibly interesting. And that's what we're going to be talking about further in today's video. I wanted to give you a little bit of a primer. Let me introduce you all to the stars of the channel, the real stars, the behind the scenes heroes. These are my two little best friends in the whole world. They mean the world to me.
We cannot let Oompa meet Molly. Their obsessions with pugs would destroy us all.
Stress a lot about what I would feed my dogs. Things have gotten really easy since I switched to Sundays for my little puppies. Obviously, I want to give my pups
Got a Master Chief 117 chair. Very good.
the best food that is possible. Raw food takes up too much freezer space. Kibble is just kind of bad, and that's where Sundays comes in. It's delicious. It actually tastes pretty good. I've eaten it. I wouldn't recommend eating it. It is for
Is it me or does Oompa look like he should have been born in an adult in the 70s?
dogs. But my dogs love it. Sundays has completely changed my beautiful little princesses' lives. Sundays is made from 100% human grade ingredients. It's real meat and some superfoods with zero synthetics and zero artificial, nasty, disgusting preservatives. Luckily with Sundays, it makes feeding my dogs a very healthy diet easy. The product's awesome, no freezer space needed. It's vet formulated and made in the USA. Give your dog a chance to try Sundays today. Use code OOMPA at checkout. Get 50% off your first order. Trust me, your dog will thank you for it. That's code OOMPA at Sundays for Dogs or sundaysfordogs.com/OOMPA to get 50% off your first order. Thank you to Sundays for sponsoring this video. This one is, okay, this is the Beast of Bladenboro, aka the Blood Vampire, aka the Big Sucker, 9,000. I don't know, I made that up. In January of
Now we're getting some actual myths from the region. Nice.
1954, something started killing animals around Bladenboro, North Carolina. But it wasn't killing them in a way that normal predators might kill something like that. It was draining them of their blood, guys. It was
a chupacabra.
Draining them of their blood. Police Chief Roy Forrest had seen plenty of animal attacks before, but when he examined the dead dogs on New Year's Eve in 1953...
Oompa, how do you do an ad promoting puppies? And then the next story is, oh, these dogs were attacked and drained their blood. Come on.
He knew something was wrong. Something was very wrong. There were no defensive wounds, no scattered fur from a struggle. The animals looked like they had been emptied. It was that simple. The animals looked like they had been drained of their blood. And even a quote from the autopsy confirmed this. There weren't more than 2 or 3 drops of blood in them. That was my Appalachian impression.
Sounded pretty good. Yeah, Appalachians for some reasons at times sound like Forrest Gump.
I know a lot of folk up on there. Another bizarre detail is that the wounds each animal faced were basically identical. There was surgical precision, jawbone smashed, bottom lips split. Something was methodically and systematically draining the life out of these animals. So this was Bladenboro, a small town of 800 people. Usually their news was about the price of tobacco or high school basketball. But over 13 days...
Okay, basketball one's kind of shocking. Normally they're like football, but still.
In January of 1954, something came out of the pine forest out there, and it turned Bladenboro from a sleepy, regular-ass Appalachian town to a nightmareville. Scary beast, something's draining creatures of blood. The story does get a lot more strange. On December 29th in 1953, a woman in
1953, so like you said, very low tech. These guys probably had like a phone for the town.
Nearby town called Clarkton saw a large cat-like creature disappearing into the darkness. Her neighbor's dogs were missing by morning. And a few days later, on January 1st, Johnny Vous discovered the method. He said, "My dogs put up a good fight. There was blood all over the porch, big puddles of it, and there was a pool of saliva on the porch as well. It killed one dog at 10:30 and left it lying there, and my dad wrapped the dog up in a blanket, and that thing came back and got that dog, and nobody's seen it since. And at 1:30 in the morning, it came back and killed the other dog and took it off. They found the second dog."
Question there. If it's on your porch, how'd you not hear it? It's not like back like today where I have like a fan or an air conditioning and something that's making noise, white noise. It's like it's just camping in the woods, basically.
3 days later, and, quote, the top of one of the dog's heads was torn off and its body was crushed and wet like it had been in that thing's mouth, and the other dog's lower jaw was completely torn off. 2 days later, January 3rd, Police Chief Flores, guy we've mentioned before, brought his trained coonhounds to track the killer. These dogs, if you don't know, are bred to pursue anything, specifically raccoons, all right? Anything with 4 legs. But when
It's the coonhound. They're basically like giant they're like bloodhounds, basically. Like the hound family all like to sniff and find things.
When they caught the scent of this creature, they immediately recoiled, and they refused to follow the trail and were whimpering as they backed away from whatever trace the creature had left behind. Probably Taco Bell diarrhea. No, I shouldn't joke. I have a real good way of just derailing everything. And the autopsy happened that day, and it confirmed what Flores feared. The animals weren't being eaten, they were being drained of their blood. On January 5th, a family's pet rat.
I'm rattling my head with random useless pagan lore. There's nothing really about animal blood. Like, I know there's animal sacrifices, but I don't think of anything that could just be just their blood.
Rabbit was found cleanly decapitated and still warm, and that same day, a man named Tater Shaw, best name ever, witnessed something that would haunt him for the rest of his old tater life. That sumbitch is a tumor. He found a goat with its skull crushed flat. He said, hey,
I'm telling you, it's a chupacabra. They just migrated to the Appalachians.
his head was flat as a fritter. Come on, man, yeah, come on. Hey, take a seat, mother. Shaw remembered the event decades later. He said, it had a great big old crack, it was word. And Shaw spread 4 fingers across his palm to show the paw prints the size of silver dollars, bigger than my small baby hands. But it's not over. On January 6th, Mrs. C.E. Kinlaw stepped onto her front porch at 7:30 p.m. to hang laundry, and 20 feet away in the gathering darkness, the beast was waiting for her. The 21-year-old mother looked up to see a large cat-like creature moving toward her with deliberate intent. Its eyes reflected the porch lights as it sized up this new prey, the first human that it had reportedly approached. Mrs. Kinlaw screamed and ran inside, and her husband Charles grabbed his shotgun.
I'm about to say, oh, you know they have firearms and guarantee at least 3 shotguns.
And rushed out, but only found cat-like paw prints bigger than a silver dollar scattered across the yard. So, the beast that was methodically killing with surgical precision all kinds of dogs and other creatures had shown an interest in human blood. You know who else has an interest in human blood? Frankie does.
Frankie, come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come on, Frankie. Come on, Frankie. Come on.
Good girl. Yeah, that's right. She doesn't like the relic very much.
Okay, Frankie. Okay.
Pugs, like, there are one dogs. I don't like. I don't hate small dogs, but like, what's the purpose of pugs? And also, we need to stop like inbreeding dogs. We need to start crossbreeding. We need more mutts out there. No, we really need to take like Basset and bulldogs and just start breeding those 2 together so we can actually get a bulldog that can goddamn breathe.
Okay, come on. Okay, have a bite. Have a bite, Frankie. Have a bite, Frankie. Have a bite.
Oh, she chews on my body. After this, panic spread through Bladenboro. Women locked themselves indoors after sunset, and men who had never owned firearms bought shotguns and pistols.
Yeah, they never owned firearms in the Appalachian Mountains. I call them bullshit there.
Liberals! Families with outdoor privies started using chamber pots inside their houses to avoid nighttime trips to the old pooper right there. But I tell you what the... Then came the sound of the creature, and that was one of the worst parts, aside from the draining animals of blood, of course. Witnesses described the same unearthly cry, like a baby crying or a woman with a knife stuck in her back. Oh! I like to imagine that's what...
That's oddly Pacific. Like, how do you know what a woman with a knife stuck in her back sounds like?
Or a baby is, Babies are so annoying, dude. Professional hunter S.W. Garrett heard this sound while tracking and compared it to a panther scream, but admitted he had never heard anything quite like it. There's theories them old skunk ape up in there.
A panther would make a lot of sense, but not that big. I'm not talking like a Carolina panther because they're just jaguars and leopards with a mutation, like the Florida ones. They're not big though.
Or not skunk ape, wampus beast. And also, I've seen so there's cougars, allegedly, that have traversed. There's one that they found, I think, in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I don't think of this stuff when I'm writing the doc and I have to like make shit up. I don't know. I'm such an idiot. I'm going off the beaten path here.
It's okay. You're talking about the Appalachian. You should, well, actually, never go off the beaten path.
There's a cougar, though, that they found really far into New England, which means it's perfectly feasible that one could be in Appalachia, of course. And I swear, on my mother's life, my family found cougar, well, large cat. I don't want to say cougar, especially if I'm swearing on my mother's life, all right? But large cat-like prints that were really large, that were really big. And then the distance between the actual prints, this is in fresh snow, by the way. The distance between the prints was like 13 feet. It's very scary.
Okay, that's impressive.
I remember finding that as a young boy in Gore, Virginia, near the West Virginia line. Anyways, back to this story. The cry echoed through the pine forest. It was a sound that would make blood freeze and would turn brave men into little bitch chicken shits. Beyond this, witnesses of the creature
Gotta love his analogies that he's using.
paint a picture of something that defies classification. 4.5 feet long, bushy, resembling either a bear or a panther, and some weights estimate
It's a bear cat. It's Cincinnati Bearcats. That's where they got it from. They stole it from the Appalachian Mountains.
it ranges around 80 to 150 pounds, and some estimate more. Some base the weight on how it crashed through underbrush. The tracks that were found showed claws at least an inch long, and some described it as brownish and tabby, and others as dark with a cat-like face. But all
Well, yeah, tabby cat.
witnesses agreed on one detail. It moved with a predatory intelligence and circled its prey with patience of something that had all the time in the world. Classic big cat style. By January 7th, nearly 1,000 hunters had descended on Bladenboro, and professional big game hunters who had killed lions in Africa, and fraternity brothers from the UNC Chapel Hill looking for a trophy.
Yeah, try doing that nowadays from UNC Chapel Hill.
Farmers with bird dogs and rabbit guns, they were all convinced that they would be the one to bag the beast of Bladenboro. Nobody succeeded, obviously. That would have been crazy if somebody shot a encrypted. Nobody's ever found one. Ever. A cryptid. Nobody's ever found one. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody's ever found one? That bothers me. People found some weird shit, too. Some hard to find shit. Mayor Woodrow Fussell owned the
That's a name for you, Mayor Woodrow Fussell.
local movie theater and had the instincts of a born showman. And as hunters poured into his town, he made a phone call to Charlotte and booked a film for January 9th called The Big Cats. And his advertisements read, "Now you can see the cat. We've got him on the screen and in Technicolor." It's because of genius.
That's good advertising. That's good advertising.
And the same day the movie played, Fussell called off the hunt. There were too many guns, too much desperation, and too much of a chance that an overexcited hunter might shoot somebody. Shoot somebody, because that happens too, man. The
Yeah, I can see that happen. I can see that happening.
Wilmington Morning Star headline captured this moment perfectly. Vampire Beast wins Battle of Bladenboro. What kind of gun would you have taken to get you Beast of Bladenboro? I would have taken one of these. I would have taken probably this to fight the Beast of Bladenboro, potentially.
Standard AR with a very big silencer.
300 blackout. Pretty unique, I guess. Could be.
Ooh, 300 blackout. Okay, that's pretty
Could have
bad.
been interesting, for sure. I like this little thing. It's nice. Eddie Kill Beast out there, I tell you what. On January 13th, Luther Davis found a bobcat struggling in a steel trap 4 miles from town. He shot it and dragged it to the town square, where Mayor Fussell hung it from a flagpole with the sign, "This is the Beast of Bladenboro." The killing stopped, and the hunters went home, and the newspapers moved on. But, in my opinion,
A bobcat wouldn't drain, though.
that was not the Beast of Bladenboro. Come on, a bobcat? They're not that scary. Sure, they sound like a screaming woman who's been stabbed with a knife in her back, kind of like that scream that I made earlier. Questions are still out there remaining, okay, guys? Sure, bobcats are loud and annoying, but they don't drain creatures. Could a 20-pound bobcat kill a 90-pound dog and drain it of blood? How did it crush skulls and smash jaws with surgical precision? Brother, I'm not exactly sure. Also, why did the tracking dogs bred for courage and
Yeah, like, If it was just a bobcat, then it wouldn't. The dogs would have been like, yeah, let's chase this cat down. The draining of blood, the silver dollar paw size bobcats aren't that big, and also like carrying a dog off.
And confidence and following things, why do they refuse to follow its trail? Because it's cute? That doesn't seem logical. Or does it? I feel like he ain't doing enough right now. Should I get rid of the Holy Relic cam? I also have this camera, which I haven't even used yet.
Hey man, come on now, son bitch. Look at these aliens down here. Come on now.
Just have a puppy cam. Just have a puppy cam, Oompa.
What the hell you doing talking over there? What the?
Get this though. Years later, Meryl. Get this though. Why did I f***ing say that? Hey, get this. Years later, Mayor Fussell admitted to an interviewer, a little publicity never hurt a small town. Or he said, a little publicity never done hurt a small town. Because he's evil and he's southern. Fussell estimated the Beast of Bladenboro was 10% real and 90% imagination. But also, Fussell was the one to call the newspapers about the dead dog, so he clearly found their manner of death strange enough to want to attract outside attention, whether just for attention or because it genuinely was strange. Tater Shaw
Yeah, that's hard to say.
lived to be 87 years old, sitting in his nursing home decades later, describing the goat with its head flat as a fritter. I mean, that is just some southern shit right there. And with
Trip. Especially with going by Tater.
tracks, the sounds of a silver dollar out there. Today, Bladenboro celebrates its infamous visitor with an annual Beast Fest, which reminds me of the Shrimp Fest of Strasburg, Virginia. The creature that once terrorized the small town has become the small town's mascot. So yeah.
Yeah, you see that a lot with small towns. You got like Sleepy Hollow, these guys. Like whenever something bad happens, and years later nothing bad happens. Like, let's have a celebration. We need something to party about up here.
That's kind of epic. DoorDash, let me get something real quick. Let me order some food. Order some food real quick. Hold on, you bastard, you impatient bastard. Take a deep breath. This is a rest spot, or whatever it's called, in the video. Hello, weary traveler. Take a rest. Maybe buy a potion. Or two. Maybe buy a potion at sour.gg. I have candy that I sell. My fingernails are dirty.
Let's see. How many more parts we got? I'm going to call it on that one. Yes. We're going to pause Ommpaville. This is going to be part 1. I'll do part 2 on Friday. You know. On Halloween, we're going to continue this Ommpaville saga. So far, definitely creepy. Like I said, you don't trust the woods out there. Don't trust them woods out there. It's just, when weird things happen, like, it's always in the woods. It's like in the woods, or it's just a place that just, like, you don't really hear too much weirdness in a desert. It's just a long stretch of like, I can see for miles. Yay. Oh, I'm in the mountains with thick woods, like the ones behind me at the moment. Yeah, weird things just tend to happen. But that is it. Like I said, I'm going to continue the Ommpaville video because it's definitely entertaining. So I am going to finish this on Halloween. I think I might do a Halloween stream. I'm not sure what I'll be playing, though. I'm actually about, like, in time recording, getting ready to go pick up my buddy, and we're going to go check out a retro game store. I'm searching for an old video game. But that's it. That's all I have. I'll see you weird people later.